Thank the Chairman. Appreciate the hearing. It's good to have Director Mulvaney before us today and appreciate his public service. It's a 7-day-a-week job just to be one of your jobs, so we appreciate the sacrifice from your family stepping away from the
Keeps me off the
house.
street. The triplets are teenagers now. They don't care to see me anyway. So
That's
A fair point. I won't go there. But I do want to visit about Tila Respa. This is something you know I've had a keen interest in since I came to college, came to Congress after 3 decades in the industry. And Mrs. Warren, when she was making the rounds before the formation of the agency you're the acting director of, she said, well, one of the key things we're going to do is make forms simpler for consumers and simpler for banks. That was a goal of the agency at that time, unnamed, I guess.
how did we do on that?
Bureau. Well, the Exhibit A for that was a merger of the Truth in Lending statement and the Real Estate Settlement statement. We're going to make it one form. It's going to be simpler. Consumers are going to be benefited by faster closing, lower costs. It's going to be easier for community institutions to loan them mortgage money. And I would argue 8 years later that that's not the case, Director Mulvaney, and it's been made worse by the rulemakings by your Bureau. This merger is called TRID. It cost the agency $1.5 billion of cost in trying to get computer programs to work. It still doesn't work. I still have complaints about it, extending mortgage closing, raising the cost of mortgages. And one thing I've heard time and time again, and Director Cordray and I have had candid conversations about this, why can't the agency issue legally binding guidance to mortgage originators that they can interpret this rule and title companies safely and be held safe from prosecution or from action of the Bureau's investigation? That passed the House overwhelmingly. And I asked Director Cordray, who was generally supportive of that, why don't you do no action letters like we have at the IRS or at the SEC, where a lawyer can write you and say, if we do X and Y about a closing related to the Tila Respa form, that they have certainty, legal certainty. Do you support the concept of no action letters as guidance?
I'll say this. The short, we have certainly believe that's within our authority to do exactly that. Towards that end, we have made what's called a request for information on Tila Respa, on TRID, to try and get the type of input that you have just suggested, because I do believe that is within our authority to do and that it can bring clarity to the law and to the regulations in a way that's beneficial to both financial service providers and consumers.
We want to lower these costs. We do want it simpler, and it's not. And we want it less costly. And what the Bureau has done for all these years is offer webinars that are confusing, hard to find, not informative, and unhelpful to market participants. So I hope you'll consider this as an official comment.
Just by pure coincidence, we're also reviewing our webinar process as well.
Good luck with that if you can find it on your website. Let me change subjects to data breaches. I noted in some of the material in this hearing that the Bureau has 233 confirmed breaches of consumers' personally identifiable information within the Bureau, and that in the consumer response system, another 840 suspected PII breaches by financial institutions using your portal, and that you've investigated that. Do you support data security breach notification? If Mr. Lukermeyer's bill were made law, do you support a breach notification standard?
I think it's a good practice.
And what have you done specifically to protect our consumers' information?
A couple different things, and this got a little bit of attention, and I think it was a lot of it was inaccurate. We immediately stopped data collection once I took over, once I was assigned to the office, for the purpose of analyzing our data security. We have made certain accommodations within the enforcement areas to allow data collection to continue. For example, we will use other agencies' systems and so forth. We will collect data on site, but not off site. The rule is this: I'm not going to hold somebody to a higher standard than we're willing to hold ourselves, and I'm not satisfied with our data security right now at the Bureau.
Well, I appreciate that. It's an important area. I want to be on record supporting your 4 ideas for improvement in the agencies of putting it on appropriations and having an IG. And I would also encourage you on behalf of the people you oversee to have an ombudsman that someone you regulate can have someone to call besides your office and have guidance on whether they've done right or wrong. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, sir.
Time of the gentleman